Well, we're just coming up to the last few days of January, and I thought I'd pop up to Lound Wood, just outside of Eakring, just north of Eakring, between the villages of Eakring and Wellow. And it's a mild night. This is the most mild night of 2022 by some considerable margin. In fact, the temperature on the way here was about 8 centigrade to 8.5 centigrade, and overnight it is forecasted to actually rise. They're looking at around 9 or 10 in certain parts of the country by around dawn. I have seen a moth on the way here, an early moth, just down at the pyramids just outside Wellow. So hopefully we can drag the odd moth in tonight, but this is not going to be a trapping session featuring numbers of moths. Well, the good news is, as I set the scene, that the first moth has turned up. Not unsurprisingly, it was a chestnut, which is typically the first moth to plunge itself towards the light, then do various dances across the sheet before cooling down and ultimately wandering off almost in a huff. That's at least how it appears. So at least we've caught a moth, the first moth of hopefully many more during the course of 2022. And this entrance to Lound Wood has always been a well-used site that Dillis and I used trapped at if we didn't feel like going into the centre of Lound Wood. This would invariably be it, especially if there was any type of breeze. Sometimes it would be too breezy to trap just 20-30 yards to the left of screen on the edge of the wood, which was probably our most favoured site here. I do like it here, I must admit. It's always safer to trap behind locked gates, and with the old charabanc at the side of the light. Now that I do like. So, the breeze appears to have dropped a little bit. Hopefully something else will drop in, but at least we've caught a moth. I'm happy with that. I can't remember ever coming out and not catching a moth. Well, at least not with a mercury vapour light. Maybe I should wash and iron that sheet. Moth trappers around the UK would be horrified, no doubt. Well, it doesn't look the best of quality videos, but I've just had this moth come in, which is a spring usher, and quite a dull marked one, but one's just also come in, which is almost melanic. It's really dark. I don't think I've seen a spring usher like it. So often these two moths have arrived more or less within a minute of each other, and I will post some better photos of spring usher. In fact, I will be taking these two home because I could do with updating spring usher photos. So, after saying that these used to be scarce here at Loundwood, I'm sure we only had 2 in 1 year once. Now I've got 2 within a minute. Here's the second one, and this certainly is the darkest spring usher that I've seen. Very dark. And you can see there, you get an idea of the breeziness. So this is a nice surprise. Pleased with these to get 2. Be nice to get one that's a bit more contrastingly marked and better marked. But a moth's a moth. And on a January night you can't be too picky about what moths come in and how many. We're just approaching the hour mark. 3 moths in that first hour. Might not sound as though it's worth it to a lot of people, but to me it is. It's 3 moths that I want to see if I'd have stayed so. Coming out on a, what is compared to the summer, a cool evening isn't to most people's tastes. That's why many moth trappers don't trap much before May. Yet there are some fantastic species to be found in the early months of the year. The joy of moth trapping is that you can actually trap moths 365 days a year. 366 if you fancy doing it in a leap year. But obviously during the winter months the variety and range of species is relatively low. But of those species that do fly, some are beautifully marked. One such species is spring usher, which we've not since long caught. It's gone quiet. Not that it was ever busy, but it's all part of trapping in the early months of the year. You're not going to be running to and from the trap, chasing many moths around with a net. Moth trapping in the colder months of the year requires some patience, and you have to be prepared to put up the cooler temperatures, which is why many people don't trap during the winter months. There are far fewer moths obviously than during the summer. People are often surprised that moths fly during the winter months at all, but it's a very useful tactic when you think about it. Any moths that do fly during the winter months are unlikely to be predated, especially by bats. You don't get many bats flying around in the winter months, and that's because they overwinter tucked away. So that's a huge advantage to many species that fly in the early months of the year. But it's quite remarkable how, when moths are being attacked by bats during the summer months, how they can avoid predation. And they do that by just simply dropping out of the sky. The wings are folded up and down they plummet. Those that don't make it and get snatched by bats turn up as 4 wings spiralling down in much the same way as if you threw a sycamore seed into the air. The old helicopters, as we used to call them, as they whir down. That's sometimes all you ever see of a moth. Thankfully, I've not seen the wings of anything really rare come down. That would be a bit of a bugger, that wouldn't it? Especially for the moth. Well, we're giving it some extra time, and the temperature's actually dropped. It's dropped down to 7 now. So I think I'll enjoy the time that I've had here. And now I think it's time to go back home. It's been good to get out. It does you good to get out. So, you know the drill now. You're going to sit there and watch me pack up. And if you take a note of the number plate of the car, you know where to avoid if you see that number plate and green Vectra outside some nature reserve somewhere.